Ladies and gentlemen, we are back! That is right, Cowboys Fan versus the World podcast with your host, with the most, Chris. I'm so excited to be back. Round of applause. We have finally made our long-awaited return to the podcast. I do apologize for it being way too long. It's been way too long since I've been on here talking to you guys, Cowboys, NFL world, through the eyes of me, the Dallas Cowboys fan. I just want to get something started here. I do apologize for, first of all, very overdue podcast episode. The last one I done was like months ago, and that's mainly on me, just because I was going through a lot, just outside of the podcast. For those of you that don't know, content creating is not like my full-time job. I have another job that I do that essentially pays the bills. If you guys don't know, I'm a teacher and a coach, and being a teacher just by itself is already a lot. On top of that, you want to add on being a coach, to athletes. I coached 3 different sports this year: football, basketball, and track. Very demanding, very demanding. Late nights, late practices, and then after track was over, you have athletes that want to get that extra work in. Not gonna punish them for it, but I had to be there for them. They're trying to put in that work. Not going to hate them for it. But it's summertime. Glad everyone's feeling good. I'm feeling good. And we are back, baby. We are back with the podcast for a long time, all summer long, baby. So now I can hopefully be consistent for the whole summer. Training camp, mini camp, everything is going on right now. I believe right now we're starting mini camp. Training camp will be coming soon. Dallas Cowboys going to Oxford. Very excited for this whole upcoming trip. Now, this is very exciting. But let's get into it. I'm glad to be back. Cowboys Fan versus the World podcast. Now, a couple things before we get started into deep depth of the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? First up, I want to give a big shout out to the Dallas Mavericks for making it all the way to the NBA Finals. Very proud of those guys. As of today, they've already played 2 games in Boston. They're down 2-0 in the series, sadly. But hopefully we can regroup. We can kind of figure out what we need to do. And the only thing that sucks, I don't talk a lot of NBA, but I just want to make this real quick. Just game 2 was winnable. Game 1 was just a disaster. Game 2 was actually pretty winnable in my opinion. So hopefully we can get on track going back to our home court. Hopefully Luka's feeling pretty well, at least well enough to play. Super excited. Just need everybody else to kind of help him out. He's dropping 30 points, but everyone else is not even cracking 20. Kind of need that help right then and there. The up is maybe Kristaps Porzingis may not play. He did hurt his leg, so who knows what's going to happen with him. But hopefully the Mavs can rebound. They can make this series pretty interesting. I still got Mavs. If you guys see my TikTok or anything like that, I got Mavs in 6. I'm still a little hopeful. Maybe leaning towards Mavs in 7. Who knows? But we're going to see how Game 3 goes and kind of just base everything off from there. Super excited. I'm still proud of the Dallas Mavericks making it back to the NBA Finals. First one since 2011. Very excited. I'm just happy for Luka Doncic as well. Moving on, I know a lot of you have seen me kind of try to stay in the podcast, try to keep up with content. You guys seen my Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, all of it, that was kind of like the easiest way. I say easiest, it still took some time to do. That was like a way for me to kind of stay in the content creating, podcast style, of stuff. There were a couple times I actually had to film from my job teaching. Like I literally had like a conference period where I got to do a couple videos. The Derrick Henry one, Stephon Diggs. It was actually from work. It wasn't like in where I usually shoot. So with, the iconic white helmet, got the Baker pop, now I got a CeeDee Lamb card, got the autograph Witten, all that good stuff. But like, that was kind of like the way I try to stay, consistent, trying to stay with the content creating, was doing it that way. And then hopefully I can come back and do a full podcast episode, which I am finally able to do now. So I'm very excited. But that's enough of the side chatter, the chit chat. Let's get deep into this. We're talking Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? How about that offseason we're having? Oh, Jesus. It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle to watch. I'm not going to touch on the draft. It's already passed. It's past news. I'm content with who we picked. We beefed up the line, which is very smart. And all that. but I want to talk the dollar, the money, the green, everyone's favorite color. If you don't know math, the only math that you need in life, addition and subtraction, money coming into your account and money leaving your account. And right now we're talking about possible more money coming into people's accounts. That's right. We're talking the big three debate on who should be getting the biggest contract extension: Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, or Micah Parsons. Now, I want to talk about this because I believe there's a lot to say, and I've had some close friends of mine, personal friends of mine, that have asked, like, what was my view? What do I think about the whole situation going on right now between the Dallas Cowboys, having to basically pick on who they want to pay more and who do I think should get paid more. And my biggest thing right now is just, it's very hard. But I have my consensus on who it is, but it's still a very hard debate and topic to do, But first, I want to start off with the Dallas Cowboys right here. Quarterback. I want to start with the quarterback here. Dakota Prescott. Dak Prescott, number 4, second in MVP voting, Rookie of the Year, leader in passing touchdowns this past season. Now, my biggest thing is do I think that Dak Prescott... Let's not even start with the money thing here. Let's start if he should be brought back. Let's start there. This will kind of give you an idea of where I'm going with this whole topic. So, right now, do I think the Dallas Cowboys should move on from Dak? I don't think so. Here's why I don't believe so. Because if you take away playoffs. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's definitely top 5. Last season, he was number 2 in MVP, so he was clearly in the top, at least top 5 best quarterbacks in the league last year. He thrived on that offense this past year, and we clearly seen the steps that he has taken that is necessary for the quarterback, especially from the season prior, where he was throwing interception after interception. It was turnover after turnover and turnover. So definitely a giant improvement, lower the interceptions, more touchdowns, which is exactly what you want in your quarterback. However, now people start going into the playoff conversation. Well, he's not successful in the playoffs, only won 2 to 3 playoff games in 8 years he's been with the Dallas Cowboys, and I get it. It's very frustrating. It really is. I've been a Cowboys fan my whole life. I was there for the tough Romo years whenever I started understanding football on a more, knowledgeable level. But here's the deal, though. Here's where it gets tricky. Because in my opinion, Dak Prescott has all the power right now. Dak Prescott holds all the power over the Dallas Cowboys. Here's why. Because the Dallas Cowboys right now are in a situation at quarterback, is if they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. What do I mean by this? The Dallas Cowboys are damned if they sign Dak Prescott back. It's the possibility of maybe, having that chance to go to the playoffs and maybe not getting to the next level with Dak Prescott, which has been the consistent basis of what everyone's been saying, or we finally make it to the NFC Championship, at least get to the NFC Championship. And I believe we still can. I think Dak, with the season he had last year, I think that he can do it again. I think he can replicate that again, and maybe, something's happen a little differently and maybe we won't get blown out at home. However, though, this is where they're damned if they don't. Because this is the problem that I've reached in the Dak Prescott conversation. Because after last season, I'm like, okay, maybe he should stay because he already knows what to do. He's a veteran. He's already knows how to run the system because clearly the system works. He had the most success this year, as a passer in previous years, especially from the year prior. He had incredible numbers. He finished second place, like I said, in MVP voting. So in the regular season, yes, he did great. Playoffs, different story. However, this is where the Cowboys are damned if they don't sign him. On the off chance they let him walk, like the Vikings let Kirk Cousins walk. Here's the problem you have here. If you let Dak walk and he goes to another team and he replicates the same success that he had with the Dallas Cowboys, now you're in that problem of, well, who was it? Was it Dak or was it or was it the Cowboys? What was the issue? So kind of the brand gets a little bit of a taint because now it's like, well, whose fault is it really? Because he replicated the same success or maybe even more with another team. And now we're like, okay, well now, Dak Prescott was more successful somewhere else and we're stuck in possible QB purgatory. And that's what I want to get to here is that if we let Dak walk, if the big question mark is if we let Dak Prescott walk. If we let him walk, here is my problem with this whole situation. If we let Dak walk, we have to draft a quarterback, or we have to at least bring in somebody, or Trey Lance has to be what everyone is hoping for, what he should have been for the 49ers. I'm still skeptical about Trey Lance because he was so injury prone with the 49ers, and that's my biggest fear. He was very injury prone. It was like Jimmy Garoppolo, and I don't want to be in that situation where he's always hurt and we got to rely on Cooper Rush. I know people wanted Cooper Rush to go in. Anyways, so now here's the thing. We're hoping on the off chance we don't sign Dak Prescott, we don't bring him back. We gotta now hope that whoever we're going to bring in or Trey Lance is going to take over and he is going to do fantastic. Here's the problem. We don't know because of what we're basing off Trey Lance's performance with the 49ers. He didn't do that great. He didn't get a lot of starts, but every time he did start, he did okay, but then he would get hurt. So we don't have enough of a basis to, really determine if Trey Lance is going to be good enough to take over if they decide to let Dak walk in free agency this upcoming year. So that's already problem number one. It's not a guarantee that Trey Lance is going to be good. Like, I'm just being realistic here. I hope I'm wrong if the scenario comes up that Trey Lance ends up being what he was supposed to be, a top pick in the draft, a top 5 pick for the 49ers, and he becomes that for the Cowboys. Now, let's move on here. Say Trey Lance doesn't work. Now we got to go find a quarterback, whether it be free agency, which who knows if we'll ever do that because we don't like hitting free agency market anyways. So now we got to either draft a quarterback or we got to find one in free agency. There's not really a lot of good quarterbacks that are going to be available in free agency, so we're more likely going to have to trade, which is going to suck even more because Jerry and the Jones family love their draft picks, and the last thing they want to do is give up a first-round pick. I believe the last time they traded away a first-round pick was for Amari Cooper, which that was like the best idea ever, but whatever. However, we still got to keep this in mind here. We don't know, rookies are a giant flip coin. They're on paper supposed to be good, but we've heard the story. We've been on this roller coaster with not the Dallas Cowboys, but we've seen it through other teams that pick these big names or these names and they end up not being good, or they're bust, or they don't work out. And it's some teams were stuck in QB purgatory for a long time. Before they finally got that guy, or they thought they had their guy and they had to go to someone else. The one I can think of recently was Buffalo before Josh Allen came in. I mean, aside of Tyrod Taylor, they weren't really the best at quarterback. They were stuck not having a quarterback. The Jets were another one. How many quarterbacks did the Jets go through before they finally decided, let's just get Aaron Rodgers, And there's more examples of that. But let's go from here. Possibility of QB purgatory for the Dallas Cowboys would be the worst thing because now we have to draft a quarterback. Now here's comes the problem with drafting a quarterback. If Dak does well again and we get a relatively decently high pick again, like in the 20s, not a guarantee a good quarterback would drop to us. Quentin Ewers, that's more likely going to go to the draft next year. Shedeur Sanders, who he may go, and whoever else is going to go into the draft next year, not a guarantee they're gonna fall to us. Because keep in mind, the Giants might be up to go get a quarterback if Daniel Jones isn't cutting it. They may go try to draft a quarterback. If the Raiders don't think that Aiden O'Connell is going to work, they're probably going to try to go get a quarterback. Like, there's teams that are going to try to make that push next year for a quarterback. And not a strong draft class as strong as it was this past year or even CJ Stroud's year. There's not a lot of strong candidates coming in next season, so it's not a guarantee we're going to get a rookie quarterback that can figure it out, or we're going to have to pull a Tony Romo again and let Trey Lance play for a year and let the QB sit and hope that he develops in a year, kind of like what Patrick Mahomes did with Alex Smith. But that's very hard because it's not a guarantee we're going to get a 2016 Dak Prescott who took over the league in a year, or a Patrick Mahomes that won MVP literally following his year he sat behind Alex Smith. It's not a guarantee. You know what I mean? So we're trying to figure that out and go about it that way. And it's very hard to kind of understand, kind of kind of wrap my head around it. We're in a tough spot. This is what I mean by Dak Prescott has all the power, because the Cowboys are playing a big gamble if they decide to go away from Dak Prescott. They already know what they can get from Dak. He can get you a winning season, which he's gotten a lot. 8 years he's been with the Dallas Cowboys. I believe he's only had 2 bad seasons, and one of them was he was injured. He had that horrible ankle injury. So there's that. And he gives you the best shot to get in the playoffs. He just does. So it's not a guarantee that next quarterback coming in is going to put you in that playoff caliber spot unless we get a top name free agent or we trade for a pretty top 10 quarterback, which who knows if we'll ever do that. And then we got to guarantee that our quarterback we would draft and coming in is going to be a slam dunk. It's not a guarantee, but we already know what Dak Prescott brings to the table. He can get you the wins and he can give you the best chance to go to the playoffs. So that's like the biggest thing, and that's what I mean by Dallas doesn't have any power. Literally, Dak holds all the power in this negotiation because the Cowboys are damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. Now, does this mean Dak Prescott should be getting top dollar in the NFL? Absolutely not. I don't think he should be getting that, and here's why. He already got his money. He got his guarantees, all that stuff. He went to war with Jerry. He won the war with Jerry, even after shattering his ankle. It's exactly what happened in 2020 when he shattered his ankle, and we went through 5 different quarterbacks because we, at one point, I think we had to put in CJ Beathard in, which who knows where that guy is now. It was tough. It was tough. Ben DiNucci was the quarterback. Andy Dalton was the quarterback. It was a disaster. It was a horrible year for the Cowboys, and that was because he was hurt. It was the same logic that we had with Tony Romo back in the day, was that if we get rid of Romo, who's going to come in and take over? Because when he did get hurt and they had to throw in, I believe, who was it? It was a former Bills, Kyle Orton. Kyle Orton was thrown in there. It didn't work out. Brandon Weeden was thrown in there. It didn't work. We had one of the worst seasons when Romo got hurt. So it was kind of in that spot like Romo that he, I think Dak puts you in a better spot, but he put you in a spot to make the playoffs. But if you get rid of him, not a guarantee that whoever you have as a backup is going to replicate that same level of success, especially since, they showed it. Dak has showed it for consistent years that he can win the NFC East. He can get you to the playoffs. He was number 1 in the division in 2016. He was number 2 this past year, and I agree. It was a disappointing season, especially since everything literally worked out for us this past year with the Eagles, funnily enough, crumbling and falling, which I figured they were going to. They fumbled in the playoffs, and then obviously we fumbled in the playoffs. It was very disappointing. But without Dak, would we have made the playoffs? I'm not even sure. So that's my biggest thing is, we do not know without Dak. Life without Dak Prescott is a very big unknown, and I can understand it's scary. It's one of those things of, well, if we move on, are we guaranteed to still make the playoffs, have another good season, compete with the Eagles and now possibly the Commanders? And that's the biggest scare right now for any Cowboys fan. And that's my fear, is if we move on from Dak, will we be in QB purgatory for how many years before we finally figure it out? And that's going to be the toughest part. And that's my biggest problem right now. But should Dak get top dollar? No, because he already had his money. He already got his guarantees. I think right now he should be the one out of the 3 to get the pay cut. Just because, I get he's the quarterback. He's the important one on that whole football team. But you already got your money. If you already got, in my opinion, if you already got yours, you got it, And I understand it's a business. You got to guarantee yourself some money. But I think this is where him and his agent needs to sit down and say, not really be realistic. Because, let's be honest. If he didn't have a good year last year, I can definitely see why the Cowboys are like, we're not bringing you back. Because they had a bad year. But they didn't. They still won the NFC East. They got second in the NFC. They finished second behind the 49ers, and he finished behind Lamar Jackson in MVP voting. So he had a good season, and I cannot disagree with that. And I believe I do want Dak back. I think he, at least for 2 more years, maybe 3. Let's try to see what we can do, but let's take a little less money. Let's see who we can hopefully bring in at one point in time. We'll bring in someone to help out. and hopefully if the Jones family can ever understand that truly, we can bring in and we can pay guys to stay, such like CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons and maybe Brandon Cooks, because I think after this year, he's a free agent. He'll walk out the door after this season. So let's kind of keep that in mind. Like, let's kind of, let's kind of start sharing some wealth here, because he already got rich, he already got paid, he's set for life basically. And I would love to see him get paid, again, but not 60 million, I think not north of 55 million a year. I think if it could be between 45 and 40, kind of keep it salary cap friendly, I believe that it'll be a little bit easier. Then now we can pay CeeDee and Micah, who've been top of their game this whole year. So that's what I think about that whole situation, at least for Dak Prescott wise, is he needs to be the one that probably takes the pay cut, just because he already got his money. You already got your money. Let's get someone else their money. Let's focus now on when you already focused on yourself. Now let's focus on the team. Let's get some money. Let's save some money, because his line's not getting any younger. It just did, but Zach Martin might retire. Who knows what's going to happen? And, you never know who you might have to bring in, and you're going to need that money soon. So, especially if you really want CeeDee Lamb to stay, I think he needs to be the one that maybe has to take the bullet here, my friend. All right, big name number 2. We're talking about him. He's right here on the football card. If you're listening, I got a football card of CeeDee Lamb, number 8. One of the best receivers last season. I believe he was even above Justin Jefferson in passing touchdowns, and he was pretty close to Justin Jefferson in yards. He's pretty close to him, actually, in total yards he's gotten over the past 4 years. He's been with the Cowboys, so him and Justin Jefferson are pretty neck and neck. Now, here, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later when we get to around the NFL, but, Justin Jefferson just got paid. I believe he's the highest in NFL history non-quarterback paid. And as he should. He got his money. He got his money. But now the Cowboys see what the market is for a top wide receiver in the game, especially a very young wide receiver having so much success. He already shattered Michael Irvin's record, and he's probably going to shatter more Cowboys records if we can get him to stay. Now, right now, he is currently holding out. He's not attending mandatory minicamp, which is very concerning because, he's just losing money, but he's waiting on a new contract. As of this recording, there has been no news about, there's been little whispers about, hey, let's kind of get this ball rolling. Let's get a contract going. Let's get him some money, but nothing's popped up. Nothing's been confirmed. I keep hearing whispers, from inside sources saying, just be patient. A deal is coming, but we also heard from inside sources that we were about to go big in free agency and we did not. So I don't know, but let's just keep thinking here. CeeDee Lamb right now is the closest to Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I said it. If he's not, he is the closest to Justin Jefferson in matter of success as a young wide receiver. Now, obviously, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, those guys have been in the league for a lot longer. They have more yards, more touchdowns, etc., etc. Obviously, Tyreek has a couple Super Bowls and Super Bowl appearances. But now, for young wide receivers coming in right now, at least for the young guys, Justin, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. Those are the big 3 names right now. And Justin Jefferson just got his money. Now I believe it's time for CeeDee Lamb to get paid. He needs to get paid. He has worked hard all year, and he had a real good season last year, and he's proven that he can be a number 1 wide receiver. There was so much speculation from a lot of people saying, is CeeDee Lamb worth a number 1 spot? Is he more than just a slot receiver? And this past season, he just proved it. I thought he's been proving it for the past 4 years that he's been more than just a slot receiver. I think that you can be dominant in the slot, but he can play the outsides too, and he's been phenomenal for the Dallas Cowboys. When they need a catch, they went to CeeDee Lamb. How many highlights? His rookie year, the backwards fade. Let's think about that. He came in and helped out that offense, elevated to even higher standards. Now let's think of this. Whenever Dez Bryant, when he got released, right? We didn't have that number 1 wide receiver, so we had to go get Amari Cooper. And I feel like that was some fear when Amari left as well. Amari is gone. Can CeeDee Lamb be that next receiver up? And he has. He's proven he's a number 1 wide receiver. He's on the tail of, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. He's right there on the tail. If not, he's up in front of Jamar Chase because I know he was injured majority of the year last year. And he should be the next receiver up to get paid, and get a big time payment. And here's the other deal. We need CeeDee Lamb to be back because outside of him, we already released Michael Gallup. Gallup is gone. Brandon Cooks is the next receiver, and Jalen Tolbert and Kevontae Turpin. Not a guarantee there. Not a big guarantee that they are going to work out. So let's think of it like that. Not a guarantee that they're going to work out. So let's keep this in mind here. We need to bring back CeeDee Lamb. This is something that's very important. Bring back CeeDee Lamb because he's going to be important. He's going to be pivotal to that offense. He's literally the main gear in that whole offense. He has been the difference maker. Even when Tony Pollard was struggling last season, let's just be real here. Tony Pollard struggled this past season. I don't know if it's because of his ACL tear or because he wasn't used to the workload because he had Ezekiel Elliott, which, by the way, he's back. And that's my thing. CeeDee Lamb is the difference maker. He needs to get paid. He deserves his money. He needs to get paid today. He is a non-negotiable on the payment scale right now. Non-negotiable right now. Non-negotiable. He needs to get paid. Now, and this is where I think the Dallas Cowboys kind of screwed up here because they waited for the market to set. Now, the market has been set for a top young wide receiver that just needs to get their money. Devontae Adams already got his money. Tyreek Hill got his money. Now they're just playing to get a ring or playing to be successful. Amon-Ra St. Brown got paid. There's a lot of receivers. Stephon Diggs just got, he got a decent deal with the Texans. And there's a lot more receivers right behind CeeDee Lamb that's up to get paid. And the problem is if you wait too long and some receivers start getting bigger paychecks than CeeDee Lamb, I don't know, T. Higgins, who is a good receiver. Don't hate me here. He's a good receiver, but is he on the level of CeeDee Lamb? I think CeeDee Lamb's better. But if T. Higgins gets a contract before CeeDee Lamb, I think it's just going to be all hell. All hell breaks loose from there on out because that is very hard to compete with. You know what I'm saying? That's very hard to kind of wrap your mind around is that this wide receiver 2, essentially, no disrespect to him. I think T. Higgins is a great receiver, but CeeDee Lamb has made that impact just as much or a little bit more. But, T. Higgins got paid, and that's just, that's going to be horrible for the Cowboys, because if it happens, it happens. But we'll just have to see what happens, going farther on. I hope that they can reach a consensus, reach a contract, so that way CeeDee Lamb can come to minicamp. He needs to be at minicamp. They need to get this offense on the right track, but they can't do it if one of their star receivers is not showing up. And for a contract that he is well deserved, he's well deserved his money. So Dallas, Jerry, get on the phone, talk to his agent. Hey, let's talk money. What do you want? Let's start there. What do you want? And let's go from there. And definitely, I know that Jerry Jones wheeling dealing. So who knows if maybe he'll try to figure out a way to mess with the salary cap. But I think that either way, he needs to get his paycheck. CeeDee Lamb needs the bread. He needs that bread, hands down. He needs the green money. So hopefully we can get that resolved because we need CeeDee Lamb. We just do. With the numbers he's had, and he's probably the closest to Justin Jefferson, we need CeeDee Lamb. Now, let's talk to the third guy. The third guy, I think he should be getting his money. He's going to get his money next year, for sure. His fifth-year option got picked up. I'm talking about the Micah the Lion Parsons. He needs to get paid, too. There's no explanation. He is one of the best pass rushers in the game right now. Literally, as a rookie, when he came in, changed that defense. With how dynamic he is, his first step is just crazy fast. He's incredibly strong. Everyone sees the highlights of him throwing grown men, grown athletic men to the ground. It's just unfathomable. You know what I mean? And that's my thing, is that he needs to get paid as well. Now, how much should he get paid is going to be the biggest question. Should he be the highest paid linebacker, or what should they do? I think this one is a little bit more of a, because he's not going to get Dak Prescott money. He's not going to get CeeDee Lamb money. Let's just be honest here. But where they should measure where he should get his money is going to be the biggest question mark, because you have to kind of see what the market for linebackers and defensive ends are going to look like. Now, the upside is that he's at minicamp. He attended the OTAs. He's there, which was a good sign in my opinion. I know the Cowboys picked up his 5th-year option, so that's a good sign for me. Is that he's there. He's working out with the team. So he's gonna let the contract come naturally. He's gonna let his play do the talk, and then let his agent do the money thing. I don't know. He's been having a pretty successful podcast with CJ Stroud. Y'all should check that out. It's pretty funny. I see some of it on TikTok. I see some of his stuff. He's very funny. He's a very funny guy. He cracks me up. Him and CJ Stroud are just hilarious. But hey, CJ, hey man, don't use this as recruiting, dude. Don't use this as recruiting. I feel like that's why Micah Parsons is trying to be annoying to CJ Stroud. Maybe it's to sway him from trying to get him to Houston. So he's like, no, like CJ just thinks, no, I'm not working with this guy. He's literally annoying, and maybe it's a psychological thing. We're on a different brain here. But Micah, I mean, the numbers speak for itself. He's one of the best. He's had I believe he's led the team in tackles before. He's, dominating in the sacks. He's just a game changer. Just every time he steps onto the field, it's a game changer. Teams literally plan on how to stop Micah or take him out of the game. And that defense last year with Dan Quinn just definitely heavily needed Micah Parsons. And that's what's kind of like the crazy thing right now is that, that defense needs Micah, especially since Stephon Gilmore may not come back because he hasn't gotten the contract. The linebackers right now, it's a very young linebacking core, except for Eric Kendricks, which I believe is a great pickup because Micah can just solely focus on going to get the quarterback. We have a zone coverage linebacker, Eric Kendricks, veteran, really great. I think he's a pretty good linebacker. I still think he can play at a high level, and so I think with that, Micah will probably mainly stay at defensive end, attacking the quarterback, which is good because that's what he does best. He can get to the quarterback pretty fast. He's been working with sumo wrestlers. He's strong. Like I said, all the tangibles are there, and he deserves his money. So hopefully he gets paid pretty soon too because he needs it. He's shown that literally he's the top. He's been like one of the best defensive players in the league for a couple years now. Even like his rookie year when he came in and dominated, everyone was like, wow, this guy is a rookie and he's already making not exactly like Aaron Donald, but he's having an impact like an Aaron Donald, like a Nick Bosa. He's basically what Chase Young was supposed to be prior to his injuries. So that's like the big thing right now. And so if you're just that big of a game changer, I mean, you deserve your money. You know what I mean? Like, you deserve to get paid if you make that big of a difference to where offensive coordinators are literally scheming to work around you. That just screams playmaker. I mean, he's like 3 lineman blocks away from being close to basically how Aaron Donald impacted the game. So hopefully, that gets worked out with Micah. I think Micah's a little bit more focused on the field, though, just because, like I said, he was at voluntary OTAs. He's at minicamp. He wasn't going to hold out. So I think that's a very big good sign. He's just going to let his play talk and then let the contract negotiations handle itself. And like I said, the 5th-year option got picked up for Micah. So that 5th year, he can play on the contract, and the Cowboys have him just so they can maybe get one more extra year to work out a payment, or we'll finally have a consensus on what's going to happen to Dak Prescott, if CeeDee Lamb's going to get his money, So we already have like our basis essentially for that. And keep in mind, Trayvon Diggs already got paid, so hopefully Michael will be up next and kind of get his money. Now, if you look at the 3 here, this was an interesting question that I saw online, was that now who should be listed as important of payment? Is CeeDee Lamb, Micah, or Dak? Now, for me, here's in order who you need to pay first: CeeDee Lamb, Micah, and Dak Prescott. Like I said, Dak Prescott already got his money. This is why I have CeeDee Lamb first, because he's not at minicamp right now. He's literally holding out for a contract. So he's probably going to need to be the first one up. Micah, I would say work on Micah just so that you can kind of get ahead of the game, but they already picked up the fifth-year option. It seems like Micah's more focused on the field right now than he really is on the contract. So that one's more of a second. And the reason I put Dak at last is because, like I said, he already got his money, and the Cowboys organization already said that they already halted conversations about their contract, and even Dak has admitted that, I'm just waiting to see what happens. So they already made it basically publicly known that they're not moving on from Dak Prescott, but they're definitely putting the contract with Dak Prescott on hold because of CeeDee Lamb and, Micah Parsons and all these other factors that are playing in. So in order of importance, CeeDee Lamb, Micah, then Dak Prescott, just because of, CeeDee Lamb holding out right now. Micah should be up next, and then Dak will get to Dak. You know what I mean? Because he already got paid. And if I believe if you play it smart, you can do it that way, so you can come back to Dak and say, look, we don't have enough money. You're going to have to take a discount. That might be the route the Cowboys are going to try to work with, just so that way they can get out of paying Dak all that money. But then again, it could dissuade him to leave. So like I said, damned if you do, damned if you don't. The Cowboys are in a tough spot between a hard place and a rock with Dak Prescott, but that's just my opinion on what they should do and go about it from there. Alrighty, so next up on the Cowboys Fan versus the World podcast with your host with the most, Chris. So now I want to kind of get into kind of like what's been going on, with minicamp going on. Obviously, we did draft some guys, some big offensive linemen, Cooper and Guyton, the left tackle, and possibly the new center, getting ready to come in. I believe they're going to leave Tyler Smith at left guard. Zach Martin is going to stay one more year. And then Tyron Steele, hopefully he's fully healed so we can get this line to work. And it's kind of exciting. I was kind of not skeptic. I was very excited about the draft pick. I know I said I wouldn't talk about the draft that much, but kind of hearing, from OTAs and stuff like that they are progressively showing that they're going to be pretty good is a really good sign, especially Cooper, the guard we got out of, I believe, Kansas State, and because they were planning on putting him at center. And I believe that's going to be a great move just because of, we need a center. I think center was one of the more weaker spots, and now that, our center left and we're kind of running out of offensive linemen here, and the left tackle is gone, Tyrone Smith, and now we gotta just kind of have to see what's going to happen now with everything. But Cooper, from what I've seen in OTAs, he's been doing really well. He's been progressing really, at a rapid rate throughout minicamp. He's been showing, he could possibly make a start. Now, Guyton, on the other hand, I believe I saw that it's a battle between him and the veteran left tackle. I'm blanking on his name, but there's like a battle for that left tackle spot. I believe Guyton's going to get it just because when I'm blanking on his name, but when he came in, you can clearly tell there was a difference, when Tyrone Smith wasn't there, it was the left tackle was the weakest link. So hopefully, I think Guyton's going to get it. I think once the preseason begins and we kind of see these guys in action, actually working against first-string defense, a little bit, or once they start putting the pads on and saying, let's go, I think that's going to be really detrimental to the decision on who's going to start. I think Cooper is still going to get the starting center spot, but I believe Guyton. I believe in Guyton. He's going to get the left tackle spot. Like I said, they've been showing a lot of promise, so that's been great. So we'll just have to see what's going to happen with that. But I think the offensive line is going to be strong again. Granted, our running back situation is not necessarily the best right now. I guess we'll talk about that too, the running back situation core. Because I talked about it in a TikTok, is we don't know who's going to be the starting running back. And I mean, it's still borderline true. We don't know who's going to be the starting running back right now. All fingers are pointing at Zeke just because he's already ran the offense, or Rico Dowdle just because he's already there. Deuce is going to be there to return kicks or something. And then Royce Freeman, who we got from the Rams, one of the only free agent moves that we made. And that's kind of the rough spot we're in right now, I think, is like trying to figure out who's going to run the ball. Now we have such a big running back core. I know there's some people were saying there's some benefits with having such a big running back core because you have multiple guys that can run the ball. You don't have to solely rely on Zeke getting 30 carries and Rico Dowdle getting 20 and Deuce only getting 5. Now you can, you have fresh set of legs every time, which I guess is a valid point. It's just my fear is that, Royce was, we have 3 running backs that have been in the league for a very long time. collectively they've been around the league for a while. And then we have Deuce Vaughn, who's the youngest one out of all of them. Zeke just coming back from New England. His little stint in New England. Royce coming from the Rams, and Rico Dowdle helping out last year. So we kind of see like these running backs, this group of running backs in a giant haul, instead of drafting a running back, or I don't know, getting Derrick Henry. But I'm not gonna get over that one. God, he went to the freaking Raiders, or not the Raiders, the Ravens. That was, oh God. But anyways, so and that's the big deal right now, is that we're trying to see what's going to be happening with the running back situation. I still think that's probably going to be Zeke, just because of importance and locker room leadership. I think he's just going to get it, just because he's already been in that offensive scheme. He already knows what they need to do. It's going to be between him and Rico Dowdle, just because Dowdle was there last year and he had some decent success throughout the season. So I think he'll be a great addition. There's really just be between who's going to get running back 3, is Deuce or Freeman. That's going to be tough. I would try to go with Deuce just because he's younger, and he's kind of shown he can kind of run, and he's very, he's a small running back, but a lot of power, like our version of Darren Sproles. So I think he just needs that opportunity to prove that he can be that Darren Sproles type of player. I believe I read that they're trying him out at wide receiver too, which wouldn't be bad. I mean, he'd be like another Cole Beasley, strong in the slot, run the out routes, or even run the flies with Brandon Cooks, because he's fast. I mean, not a bad idea, not a bad little gadget player. He never hurt to get a gadget player, like, ever. That's what Kevontae Turpin essentially is. He runs jet sweeps or even tosses out of the backfield and kick returns and punt returns. So we have enough, on paper, borderline weapons, and definitely that running back group is very versatile, in my opinion, because we have 3 strong runners, and then we have Deuce, who can kind of be everywhere. So hopefully that running back house that we have is going to be beneficial, and hopefully that it can definitely show that that offensive line is strong. Because keep in mind, if the running backs succeed, I mean, that just shows how strong the offensive line is. Even with running backs like Zeke, who's been there in the league for about 8 years now, which in running back years is like dog years. It's like such a long time. If you've been in the league, if you're a running back and been in the league for like 10 years, almost 10 years, you've been there for like 30 years, essentially, body wise. And then, like I said, Rico's been there for a while, Royce Freeman's been there for a while, and Deuce is just came in last year. So you definitely see, kind of that growth. Definitely, hopefully, you can see the growth of the offensive line through the success of the running backs. Because if the running back's successful, that means the line's successful. So we'll see what happens with that. And also, very excited for Overshawn to come back. Another young linebacker tore his ACL before the season even began. I think he's going to be a great addition to that defense, and just adding depth to that linebacker core. So that's going to be very exciting, and hopefully everything works out with him. But mini camp's underway. Still waiting for CeeDee Lamb. We'll see what happens. But mini camp's going. It's going great from what I'm hearing from the Dallas Cowboys camp, and just people insiders saying that CeeDee Lamb's deal's coming. I just fingers crossed right now. Alrighty, so moving on. Now we're moving on to the topic. This is where the NFL world comes through my eyes. Let's talk around the NFL. So, looking around the NFL, we got to talk about my guy. Number 1 draft pick out of Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield. He got a payday, 3-year extension. Very awesome for him. I'm very excited, actually, for the Buccaneers, because I think that they got a little bit stronger offensively. I believe that their weakest link was the offensive line. I think that they just didn't have a strong line last year. Even with the success Rachaad White kind of had, every time I saw the game, it was either like something was wrong with the line, it looked clunky, they were getting beat a lot. So I believe they drafted the kid out of Duke or Northwestern, one of the two. And I mean, apparently he's a versatile offensive lineman, so I think that's a great addition. I believe that was like one of the things I said that they should get is offensive line help and then beef up the defense. They already have good enough weapons, which, by the way, they added another weapon. Sterling Shepard from the New York Giants, I believe, is now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which Baker and Shepard played together at OU, so they already got that OU connection. I know Baker's already excited about that, getting his old college buddy back to help out with that offense. And I think that's going to be really good for the for the Buccaneers because Sterling Shepard's a veteran wide receiver. He's been in the league for a while. I think at least he'll be a good third or fourth option along with Godwin and Mike Evans. I mean, Godwin and Mike Evans is just a elite duo right there. I believe Gage was a good wide receiver last year, the rookie wide receiver. So now they kind of have more depth at wide receiver, and Sterling Shepard kind of being there, possibly being that third or fourth option is going to be very handy for the Buccaneers in that offense. And then beefing up the offensive line was even better because I believe that was like their detriment right there, was having a weak offensive line. So now they beefed it up. They're kind of trying to see what they're going to figure out on defense. I believe they paid Andrew Whitford his money. So the defense looks a little bit better. Hopefully they can stay afloat. But I'm definitely excited for the Buccaneers, even with Atlanta going nuts with whatever the heck they're doing down there. And New Orleans kind of trying to help out. And, you know, that NFC South division is gotten a little, you know, they're getting a little tougher, but I still think the Buccaneers are still going to win the division. I think the Buccaneers got better with the division. And we're going to have to see how that kind of plays out. I mean, like I said, I think that division will be a little bit better. I know for sure the Panthers will be a lot better just because they added some weapons and they're going to help out Bryce Young as much as they can. And then, like I said, the Saints and the Falcons got better because they added Kirk Cousins, and then they're bringing in Phoenix to learn behind him, which, oh my God, that was so funny whenever I found out Kirk Cousins didn't know about the draft pick for Phoenix, and then you just see the clip of the video of the owner the coach trying to explain to the owner, hey, like, this is why we're picking Phoenix. I'm like, oh, that is so funny. I thought it was one of the funniest things ever because I was like, wow, that sucks. But we'll just have to see. But I still believe in my guy Baker. I'm still waiting for that Baker Mayfield creamsicle jersey. I'm waiting for that pristine jersey, that good-looking jersey. I got to add it on to it. Now, and that's essentially all I'm waiting on right now. So, but hopefully, I believe in Baker Mayfield. I think they're going to do good. They do play the Cowboys. I did get this question from a buddy of mine, the guy that actually lost the bet to me about Baker making the playoffs, and he actually almost made the NFC Championship, so haha. But he asked me if the Cowboys and the Buccaneers are going against each other, who are you going for? That's a tough one. If I get the Baker jersey, just get a jersey and a hat, or Cowboys jersey and I don't know. I'll figure something out, but maybe I'll just have both and do the Homer Simpson meme where I come in and out. Who knows? But that's going to be a tough one. It's very, very tough because, I mean, when Baker played the Cowboys when he was with the Browns and beat them, I was like, wow. I think my parents actually went to that game. It was during COVID, but I think the Cowboys were still allowing people into the stadium. They were just really spread out. So they got to see them, got to see him play with Odell. So that was pretty cool. But I think Baker is going to be fine, like I said, and adding more weapons to help kind of beef up that team. I saw their schedule. I don't think their schedule is that bad. I think they could still honestly win the division. Just getting the 49ers is a tough break, but we'll have to see what's going to happen with them. Speaking of the 49ers, a lot of drama coming out of the Bay. A lot of drama. Brandon Ayuk still doesn't have a contract. So who knows? Because he's another one of the wide receivers that's waiting to get paid. I believe he's holding out at minicamp as well because he hasn't gotten paid. But Christian McCaffrey, run CMC, just got a 2-year extension and a raise. Man, but you can't be mad about it if you're Brandon Ayuk. You just can't. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, pound for pound, is one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the league right now. Just fantasy owners thrive on Christian McCaffrey. I couldn't tell you how many times in fantasy football I lost to a team that just had Christian McCaffrey just because Christian McCaffrey would score 32 points a game. God, it was frustrating going up against him. But besides that, I mean, he's a versatile running back. He can catch, he can run, he can block, all that good stuff. I mean, he's just he's just a dog. That's just what he is. He's a dog. And he deserved his money. I mean, I think he deserved to be the highest paid running back, just because I'm also hoping the 49ers run out of money there. But that's not just the only problem. And I think this was the biggest borderline middle finger to Brandon Ayuk was when they extended Brandon Jennings and they drafted the Florida wide receiver in the first round. So I think that the 49ers are getting ready to move on from Brandon Ayuk. They're just starting to hear, okay, who wants him now? You know what I mean? They were, and I think Shanahan played it smart. They didn't just kick him out and say, all right, Debo, go nuts, or all right, Christian McCaffrey, you're up, you know what I'm saying? And I think they played it smart. They made sure Brandon Jennings is coming back. He did pretty decent. They're bringing in young guys, so that way, if Brandon Ayuk, if they kind of kick Brandon Ayuk out, they're basically, they see white A. They see why they cover their butts on it, and it kind of sucks because I think Brandon Ayuk's a pretty good player. I think he's a pretty good wide receiver. He's a speed demon. I know that for sure. So it kind of sucks, that he's not getting his money, because I think he's deserved it as well. I think he's been just as good, but I think because of how much they use Deebo Samuel not only as a wide receiver but as a running back, I think that's why they value Deebo a little bit more. Now, why do they value Brandon Jennings over Brandon Ayuk? I'm just convinced it's because he has not been very vocal about getting a contract extension as much as probably Brandon Ayuk has been, and he didn't go to the extreme of not coming to minicamp like Brandon Ayuk. So I think that, with all that being said, the 49ers are just kind of waiting to see what they can get for Brandon Ayuk, which I believe is pretty smart, because they'll probably get a lot for Brandon Ayuk. I'm sure there's going to be a team that really, really wants Brandon Ayuk, especially if, they can definitely capitalize on it. I know I heard some rumbling about the Steelers maybe looking at him, and oh my God, I swear to God, if the Chiefs get Brandon Ayuk, I'm convinced just give everybody their money, because I don't know how they have money. I don't know how the 49ers have money to just be throwing around everywhere. But, and then just Brandon Ayuk and Xavier Worthy, oh my God, that would be too unstoppable. But I think the 49ers right now are just I think they're just fed up with Brandon Ayuk. I think that they're not gonna bring him back. They're just trying to find a way to slowly kind of push the man out the door. Kind of give him that exit ticket. But hopefully, if everything works out for Brandon Ayuk, hopefully he goes to a team that definitely will pay him and value him. Like I said, I know the Steelers were in talks. I'm sure there's other teams that are very, very interested in Brandon Ayuk. It's just who's going to... I think the biggest question right now is who's going to pay him. Because it's not necessarily you want to trade for him. I'm sure a lot of teams right now would love to trade for Brandon Ayuk. But the biggest question mark right now is, do we want to pay him a lot of money to come in, and, help out as much as he can? I think that's the biggest question of them all, is can he come in and help out as much as he can? And we don't know. And that's the biggest question mark right now, is we don't know if he can or if he will. So that's really the only thing I can really think of, is why a lot of teams haven't really moved on him quickly, just because of, like I said, being overshadowed by Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Jennings, being overshadowed by all these really talented players. And so, it sucks that he was the last in line, because, I know Nick Bosa got his money, George Kittle got his money a while back, Debo got his money, now Christian McCaffrey got more money, Brock Purdy's up to get his money. Probably next episode I'll explain why I don't think he should get a lot of money, or he probably won't accept a lot of money either way, but I don't think he should get a lot. But... and then that's not including Fred Warner and all these other players that they just have too stacked of a team. Money can't go everywhere. They're going to run out of money at some point, unless they're just the Rams and have a Swiss bank account like they did their Super Bowl run. But we'll have to wait. We're just going to wait and see. As of right now, though, as of this recording, there has been no news on Brandon Ayuk and if he's been traded anywhere. So if anything happens when this video gets uploaded, or this podcast episode gets uploaded, who knows? But we'll see. Well, hopefully Brandon Ayuk, I think he should get his money, or at least get some sort of payment, and hopefully a team can bring him in and definitely utilize him to his advantage. All right, so last topic, looking around the NFL, we're sticking with Justin Jefferson and how he has screwed up, and I repeat, screwed up the whole NFL and everyone that has a wide receiver. This is exactly what's leaning into the Brandon Ayuk situation, the CeeDee Lamb situation, and now even going into the Bengals situation. So Justin Jefferson just got a lot of money. So now Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are up for contracts, and I believe they franchise tagged T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd I think is with the Titans now, but T. Higgins is franchise tagged, and then we're waiting on Jamar Chase. So. And I think that this is where Justin Jefferson's like contract, I believe, screwed everything up. Granted, I'm glad Justin Jefferson got his money, but let's look at the difference between Minnesota and maybe some of the other teams right now. Obviously, the biggest thing that I've noticed that's the biggest difference right now is the quarterback pay. So let's look at it here. So obviously for the 49ers, I mean, they're paying everybody, but look at their star quarterback, quote unquote here. I think it's just because he has a good team. But let's look at Brock Purdy, getting paid less than most NIL college kids right now. Let's be frank here. So he's not taking a lot of payment because he was the last pick in the draft. He doesn't get a lot of money, which I'm sure that'll change in the next year or so. But now let's compare that to the Bengals situation. Let's compare it to them. Joe Burrow got his money, and he's been a really good quarterback. But he got his money now. Where else can they share the wealth with their two receivers that they need? Jamar Chase got hurt, so T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd had to pick up the slack, and I believe they did pretty good. So they deserve some sort of paycheck. But they can't pay two receivers top wide receiver money. They can't pay two guys Justin Jefferson money while paying Joe Burrow top of the line money. Like, it's going to be the exact situation they are in, like the Dallas Cowboys. They pay three guys a ton of money, and now there's no more money. But let's look at the difference between the Bengals and the Minnesota Vikings right now. The Minnesota Vikings they let go of Kirk Cousins. Like, let's be real here. Kirk Cousins is gone. And they weren't afraid to let him go just because of he's getting older. He tore his Achilles in the beginning of the season. He had a huge hit on the salary cap because of how ridiculous his contract was, and then the Atlanta Falcons gave him a ridiculous contract. Jesus Christ, this guy's a business. This guy's just business. You know what I mean? He just makes money and shops at Costco. Man, he knows how to save money and make money. Anyways, back to the Minnesota problem compared to the Cincinnati. So now that Kirk Cousins is off, he's off the, essentially off the books outside of his guaranteed. They had a little more wiggle room. They draft J.J. McCarthy. They bring in Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's not making top-of-the-line money, and J.J. McCarthy's making first-round money. Still, together, not a lot compared to the Joe Burrow and the Jamar Chase and the T. Higgins situation, or even let's go to the Dallas situation. So we look at that, right? We're going to look at, Justin Jefferson's contract, highest non-quarterback paid contract in NFL history. And so we measure that and try to compare it to other teams right now that are having this internal struggle of if they should pay wide receivers. Now, let's keep in mind this. The NFL has definitely made that drastic, shift from, powerized, strong running back, pay the running back a lot of money, bootleg, all that stuff, to having, the West Coast offense, the vertical offense, the air raids that the Commanders are about to do because they got Cliff Kingsbury, my guy, Texas Tech dude. Anyways, but let's still look and compare it here. They are paying their quarterbacks bare minimum. Basically not a lot. Daniil Hunter left, so they got a defensive tackle or defensive end off their books. Andrew Kendricks was at the Chargers. Sorry about that, but they were able to make room. Is the point I'm trying to make here? They made room to sign Justin Jefferson to a long-term deal. Because keep in mind this, there was a possibility Justin Jefferson was going to leave. Because I know there was some reports that said that if Kirk goes, I'm going. I'm gone. So hey, money talks, right? Money talks. He'll stay in Minnesota for that kind of money. And then they still have Jordan Addison on his rookie deal. So they're paying a lot of their offensive guys, either on rookie deals or borderline, they're getting paid close to the same amount as rookies. Sam Darnold, for example. So if we compare that and take that to other situations, like Buffalo, for example, they got rid of all their freaking receivers, but they paid Josh Allen a lot of money. But, where else can they pass the wealth to? You know what I'm saying? Like, where else could it go? Compared to the Minnesota Vikings, who are paying a lot of their offensive skill guys not a lot of money to move in Justin Jefferson. And this is what I mean by he screwed everything up. And obviously the quarterback market tanked everything because it doesn't leave enough room for people, for receivers that deserve their money and have been part of that success to come in and get their money. So now that Justin Jefferson has his, record-breaking money, and now you're going to have people like Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, all these guys want, that top dollar. So we're at a conundrum, and we're just at a giant problem here because of this giant contract that is now being held over all the wide receivers. Let's go away from Dallas and Cincinnati for a moment and look at Buffalo. Stephon Diggs kind of drove himself out. They were sick of him, but Gabe Davis left too. So now, Josh Allen doesn't really have a wide receiver except I think the kid that they just drafted, but that's really it, and Dalton Kincaid. But Dalton Kincaid's on his rookie deal, so he'll be fine for a while. But they pay Josh Allen a lot of money to where if Dalton Kincaid comes up or if that rookie receiver comes up, depending on what's going to happen. But now let's move on to the Giants. They overpaid the hell out of Daniel Jones. Where could they have really gotten more help? Because they had to rely on their veterans that they've had for years. The biggest signing they had was Darren Waller, which he retired now, which, great career, Darren Waller. He was a great Raider. No help to the Giants, but that's not his fault. I think just the Giants suck. But let's keep looking at it here. Daniel Jones got overpaid, and now, where does the money go? What do they do with the money? They got Neighbors from LSU, which is good, but he's on a rookie deal, So we'll have to see what's going to happen with, Daniel Jones in that scenario. But compare it to what the Minnesota... Now it's kind of compare it to, a team that's kind of in their situation. Minnesota just got a rookie quarterback, so did the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels. They got a rookie quarterback. So now that's why they're able to be flexible and go get a little more pieces to help out Jaden Daniels, along with hiring Cliff Kingsbury to be the offensive coordinator. Now let's move on to the opposite of it. Let's go to Arizona when Kyler got the ridiculous amount of money. And actually, that'll be the last thing I'll talk about is the Bryce Butler thing. Kyler Murray, he got a giant contract, but where is his help? You know what I mean? They just got Marvin Harrison Jr., but that took a while. He started losing receivers left and right because they had no room, because they felt like they had to pay Kyler Murray so much money that the rest of the team basically took a hit. I think Isaiah Simmons is gone. He's with the Giants. There's a lot of their star players were gone. They were kind of working with whoever they got, or veterans that are kind of just there, such like Zach Ertz and all these other players. So that's my biggest thing, is that because of the lingering market of not only just the quarterbacks, they have to rely that they have to, to get rookie receivers. But then you see, top talented wide receivers like Justin Jefferson get a paycheck. Now this is what screws up everyone else, is because, hey, Justin Jefferson got his money. I'm CeeDee Lamb, for example. My numbers are close to his. I deserve close to his money, or close to top dollar. Jamar Chase, another example. Hey, I've been good since I've been here. I deserve top dollar, or close. And that's just one of a few, a couple examples. Brandon Ayuk, I don't think he'll get that top dollar, but he'll probably want top 10. You know what I'm saying? And who knows, if Malik Neighbors does really well with the Giants, he may ask for Justin Jefferson money. There's a lot of tangibles here that Justin Jefferson's contract is screwed up for a lot of the NFL people. It's kind of like, when Deshaun Watson borderline, not borderline, he completely screwed everybody in the NFL and quarterbacks and NFL owners, because the Browns went all in on him, and that was one of the dumbest things they could have done, because now they have literally no money to extend anybody except for Myles Garrett. And that's essentially what I think Justin Jefferson's contract is going to do. It's going to be not unrealistic to reach, but it's going to be very hard to match it, and a lot of guys are going to be wanting to match his money. And unless they're like Devontae Adams, who already got paid, or Mike Evans, who already, they're content with their money, he already has a Super Bowl ring, or something like that, then you're going to have players that are just going to be content with just, kind of being there, making some good dough and playing football. But a lot of the guys coming in, they're going to want top dollar, especially if they've been dominant or borderline, top 10 for the past 4 years. They're going to want Justin Jefferson money. It's wide receiver speaking, and there's always going to be someone that wants top dollar, especially if they've been, top of their game all year. And that's what I think is going to be the problem with Justin Jefferson's contract. It's going to be another repeat of Deshaun Watson. Not in the extent of he's going to suck, but it's in the sense of it's going to screw over everyone in the league, because a lot of their top receivers are going to want something close to Justin Jefferson's money. But, on top of that, they're trying to have the whole quarterback deal, where quarterbacks are just paid a ridiculous amount of money. And now you got to pay two positions a lot of money. So unless salary cap just ends up not existing in 5 years or something changes, like that's essentially going to be the state of the NFL, is that the receivers and the quarterbacks are going to be top paid and everyone else is going to run out of money. So that's kind of where it's at, because at first it started with the quarterbacks getting all this money, a lot of, quarterbacks getting the top salary cap. Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott got it, Deshaun Watson definitely, Kirk Cousins was another one. But now we're going to look at wide receivers coming in and saying, I'm the next Justin Jefferson, or I'm close to Justin Jefferson, or I'm close to Tyreek Hill and all these other good wide receivers. I want that top dollar, and it's just going to destroy the salary cap again. So that's what I mean by Justin Jefferson's contract is going to be like borderline on par with what Deshaun Watson's contract did for the QB market. Destroyed it. And now I think Justin Jefferson's contract is just going to destroy the wide receiver market, because everyone's going to want close to that top dollar, and I don't think it's going to be very realistic on if they can reach it. Now, I want to talk about the Kyler Murray thing, just because it was so funny. So Bryce Butler went on the podcast and, talked about his time with Kyler, and it was just very shocking, Now, granted, I can kind of see that, he's not very vocal, and all that. And he did make a good point. If you have a watch a film clause in your contract, that is a horrible sign, And, he expressed it. He was hard to work with. Nobody really hung out with him, all this stuff, And, he prioritized playing Call of Duty. And that was, it's crazy because, you see it and you kind of hear it and you make the joke oh, Call of Duty boy, but actually hearing a former teammate of, Kyler Murray literally coming out and saying the same thing, that he's not really a leader in the locker room, kind of cares about himself, that's what I find so crazy. You know what I mean? It's just not hard to fathom, but it's hard to wow, that's a real thing. You know what I mean? And it's not oh, well, they're human and stuff like that. No, this is legit. He doesn't work with anybody. And that's very hard, to kind of hear and understand from somebody. But, I mean, that's kind of what I've heard, through the ranks of, Arizona, and things kind of slipping out, is that, I've heard that Kyler is not a very vocal leader. He's kind of just a keep to himself guy, or, whatever. But kind of hearing it from a firsthand experience from Bryce Butler, that's pretty big exposure. And Kyler Murray's the only one that can fix it. You know what I mean? He worried about all his money that he wanted to get, and he got it, but he still hasn't played a lot. And last season when he did play, he did all right, but, it was at the end of the season, and they were already, basically in the crapper at that point. So there was no point in him being back. I think he should have just sat out the season and just been screw it, sit out the season or whatever, and just get ready for next season, because, he didn't play. So there was no point. They weren't going to make the playoffs, so it was just, I thought the decision was pretty stupid for him to play, but nonetheless, well, hopefully he watched film so we can get his money. But alrighty, that's going to be a wrap up on this return episode of the Cowboys Fan versus the World podcast. Sorry, about to screw it up with the original brand name. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Definitely going to be more consistent this time, especially since the summer break. I have a lot of time now on my hands. I'll probably be on here. What I may do is more breaking news stuff. If we finally hear about the CeeDee Lamb thing, I'll probably do reaction videos of what I think of the contract. Kind of shorter stuff like that. Very excited for that content. Mini camp's underway. I'm sure training camp's coming up. Very excited for that. 4th of July is coming up pretty soon. I believe there might be 1 week where I may not be on the podcast. I'm going out of town. But I may take my stuff, or I might shoot an episode. I believe it's going to be next Friday. I'll be gone. So hopefully I'll get a content piece done. I may get 2 episodes done just so I can get it out of the way. Or I may just take my stuff and record where I'm at. Probably do that just to show some dedication. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Make sure you follow me on all of my social medias at Cowboys Fan versus the World. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. I'm on it. Make sure you catch this episode on either Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Amazon Music, or if this video will be uploaded to YouTube, wherever you get your podcast information, wherever you get your podcast stuff, I'll be there. Make sure you guys keep up with this news or any kind of new episode of the podcast. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.